Uh, Okay, so how to draw curves in perspective, and this will be like series about Scott Robertson, like how to draw very complex stuff in perspective. So first introduction. So let's take curve, right? To draw it in perspective, we need to project points from which we can recreate curve. So, and more points we have, more precision we will have with this projection. But again, it's like difference between making it like in engineering draft and freehand artwork. Eventually you will find this kind of middle ground when you make it precise and loose enough. So usually it's like find like start end and third point somewhere. It's like in the middle or like let's say here, right? So this like third point help us to map kind of this curvature. So let's say kind of this. So, and then I want to project not just a curve in perspective, because it will be like too random. Like how can I draw curve itself? It should be like a curve on a surface. So let's say, so if it's like I have curve, but it's actually belong to surface. So curve, you should keep it in mind. Curve, it's always like a line on a flat 2D surface, right? So, and we draw in this surface in perspective. Let's say like this, right? And all trick is about how we establish this curvature exactly, because it can be like this, and can be like this. It's still a curve, but it's like 4 different curvature. So to make it more convenient, we usually work with this ratio approach, like I was explained before. It's convenient when you use squares and cubes. So instead of have like a random proportion, you have like square and a half square. So now we have this kind of ratio 1 and 1.5. Right? So you have this almost kind of golden cut right angle. Then you have 2 points here, and to make this third point, again I can do this. I can make diagonal from corner to corner. So here I'll have this third point. So now curve is going through this point. So I have exact curvature. So, and now if I draw this plane in perspective, the surface in perspective, so it's kind of like a square and half square. Make it more convenient for freehand instead of make it like, like you can try to measure square, and then how they show in the books, do this one. But again, when you do it freehand, when you draw it freehand, you're still making mistakes, right? Still, like, you cannot be like super precise. So you need to use a ruler, and then okay, you will use ruler for this line, but what kind of ruler you need to draw perfect square, proper kind of square in perspective. So most convenient eventually, like for freehand artworks, is just to practice, to get this like intuition, to be able to draw cubes and to be able to draw squares. So you see, like, because cube itself, it's a set of squares, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares in perspective, basically, right? So that's why if you do this exercise, do this homework of drawing cubes in different angles, like in the video I teach like perspective for beginners, I recommend this homework, like Kranz cubes or whatever cubes. You can draw them with a vanishing point, or you can draw them just dropping randomly in space. But what it gives you, it's this like kind of like establish your aim, right? It's your artistic default aim, so you can recognize and you can establish squares in the space. So then, okay, you make this surface. You have point here, point there. Then you connect these corners. Now we have third point. And now you make a curved line through this point. Like in a book of Scott Robertson, he have exercise like drawing curve through points, right? So all this is kind of very basic. Consider it for yourself as a warm-up exercise or test. So like this video today, I will make timestamps so you can browse it and you can check yourself, like, is it cleared for you? Can you draw it all? Can you draw it easily, or it's kind of like you stumble on it? It should be easy, it should be clear. This is a kind of test. It's like very basic, essential skill. So one of exercise Scott Robertson tell is drawing curve through points. So almost perfect. So, and he talk about drawing in perspective as connecting dots, right? So with all these plans and perspective grids, we make sure we know how to properly map these coordinates, these dots. So curve in perspective, curve will go in through these dots. So it's kind of like this is how it works, right? So this like kind of like smooth connection between dots in the space. So let's with this simple curve you can just play around and draw. Maybe let's say like you make horizon line like in 1 point perspective. It can be like this. So then we make this diagonal. Because you see, in all previous videos I was talking about like creating this perspective muscle and building your intuition with perspective, and mainly I was talking about perspective grids and all this kind of box stuff. Curvature is it's kind of like another specific perspective skill, and you can also, when you practice it, you develop this kind of like default mode. So you know, this how you improve yourself actually. It's by these exercises. So you create default mode, which for amateur don't have. Like any beginner artist, any like low skill artist, they don't have the skill. They don't have this intuition. You develop this intuition by doing such exercises. So you can, at first it feels like you like it's something new for you, then it's more and more easy to do, and then you just like flying with it. So let's say just kind of random, and also, like I say, when it feels too easy, you need to keep doing it. So minimum amount of such papers, let's say such papers or this kind of exercises, minimum should be hundreds, right? So 100 is your minimum number. Lower than 100 is like it's like if you didn't do it at all. So this kind of first step. Then let's say can just little play more with this idea. So let's say if we take one side, one more, and again, you know, I'm doing this not because anyone asking me, right? It's just fun. It's fun for me. So same, I recommend you to find out for yourself how to make it fun. So you curious, you want to check, test yourself, maybe challenge. So let's say here two surfaces, right? So kind of square and half. I kind of eyeballing it, so I know it's not perfect, but close enough. And let's say I will do here a bunch of more, like 4 more surfaces. So like an exercise about rotation, we can so all this is just like train your brain as kind of perspective logic for you. So, and each of this I will divide it like square and half, and will make diagonal for each, right? So let's see where's this 3 point. So it's kind of here. This 1, 2, 3. Here, square. diagonal. Because like with perspective grids, you don't need to do this every time. It will happen in your subconsciousness. So once you repeat it a bunch of times, once you like clarify it for yourself, so you not in the theory, but you actually in the practice, you really get it, you can do it, and you can like turn it around, and it always works. So it means you really understand. Once this happens with certain amount of repetition, it stores in your subconsciousness. So now you became like this, like Neo or Robocop. I don't know. You're just looking around, and it's like building these structures automatically in your head. That's why it's essentials. You improving your brains. This kind of idea of essential. So don't think about it as like it's some kind of like sequence of drawing. No, it's not just a sequence. It's underlying structure for every drawing you will do now on. Так, so let's say another. Just you see random exercise how to draw more this kind of simple curve in a different plane. So let's say here I have this like shape, and I will do a bunch of these planes. So let's say transition from this plane so it's go kind of this. So it's kind of mix of a intuitive perspective. Так, so so same, you know, if you've been like in any martial arts, like boxing, I don't know, wrestling or kickboxing or whatever, there is certain fundamentals, and there is a lot of different approaches. You can see like different coach have, like everybody have some their own like little techniques or exercises, and like it seems like endless amount. As always, you can find some different gyms, they have their own ideas. Same here. It's like I don't say everybody should do exactly this stuff, but for someone it will click, and you will say like, wow, it's exactly what works for me, and it helps a lot. And that's for sure will help a lot of people, and especially for those people who seriously like who have some serious motivation, you know, like you want to have some decent level. I even don't say about like being like, oh, he's some genius or master. No, it's just some kind of a minimum decent level. This is what is about. Because if you don't know perspective, basically you are not drawing, you're just doodling. Without perspective, your drawings is just doodles. you can impress your mother with these doodles and stuff, but it's not real drawing. So let's say like this, you see like a bunch surfaces, drop curves on it, and now we have like, it can be like some complex form. So let's take which color? Let's take this one. Some, I don't know. We even have these points to connect. Anyway, we'll go there in part 2 or 3. I will talk about drawing complex forms in perspective. So you see, I was showing like one way. So it's just like one way how you can help yourself map points, map curve. Так. So let's say we have this square, and let's say here like I randomly do this curve, but it also will be good example. So what happened here, this diagonal line, when it's going now from this corner through this point on the curve, is not going perfectly to other corner, but it still will works. It just make it harder to calculate, but still it kind of shows these principles of mapping. So you see like, you say okay, it's somewhere close, not exactly in a corner, but it's close. So now you have this. Point is with this like approaches of mapping, you need to make sure they help you to be as precise as possible with your freehand approach, right? So there you color pencils always broke. So here I don't think it's like very precise. It's more precise when you can like subdivide it in halves. So let's say, let's take random square and subdivide it in halves. Random rectangle, sorry. So, and let's say all right. So it's like another way of mapping. So you can see. Or let's take again. Maybe you subdivide on a thirds. So now you have this. So now again you kind of subdivide on a thirds. You find this point here, 2 points here. Whoop. You can do it like with much stronger conversion. Let's say like this. So then you consider like diminishing, right? This bigger, then it goes smaller and smaller, like this, and then here. Also, you can do it this way. Let's say if we have half kind of here to here, so maybe like 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, and we also subdivide this on a 3, so this will be point. So thing is that is like it's a certain principle which can be many variations, and you kind of should experiment with them all, just again to experience and show your brain, train your brain, apply this logic, apply this kind of approach of mapping dots, mapping points, right? So it will become like kind of like any other basic default skill you have right now. It's like, you know, everybody have like some basic default skills, and you want not just a random basic default skill, you want professional skills, right? You want like high class skills. Так, so let's see. Again, 1, 2, 3. So I totally eyeballing it, and if we will like check this, it can be wrong, but in your like artistic works, like 99% of the time you need like this level of precision. That's why also it's kind of a tutorial, like I do in this tutorial, is just to show how to apply Scott Robertson approach without being over technical, you know, because I will show later like some of steps he's showing, you actually don't need to do them. Так. So let's say here, and middle line, but here let's do this will be here, right? So I rotating it, so we have this 3 points, so 1 point, so 2 point, 3 point, 4 point. So here's look almost like diagonal from this angle. So do this exercise about 100 times. You do this, you do this, you do stuff like this, just every day, couple of weeks. Make sure it's some kind of like stack of 100 papers like this, and draw on the other side. Hello, lens stretcher. Cool. Hello to Argentina. So then let's take another curve, right? So this like kind of was most basic curve we can talk about. But what about totally random curve? Maybe this curve, can be this curve, can be that curve, whatever curve you want, right? It's how many humps you want. So, and let's say, so I take this. So convenient it's to put these points in the tops, right? So, and then I will drop it like this, because we need, why we need this here? Because we can see like on a line what kind of ratio we have, right? So it's here this kind of ratio, right? So we know how this point located according to one side, and also we need to know how it's located according other side. So kind of like width x-axis, right? And height y-axis. So what a ratio for height? So for height ratio here, some kind of this. So we have width will be this, height is here. So if I draw some kind of this, right, we have this ratio here, and kind of maybe a little there. So we have these points and these points. Wait a second. We have this number 3 point about here. So, and you see, it's like when you create curve, create it more simple than this. Like make sure, and so instead of have totally random curve like this, I will rather create it like, let's say, it can be like this. Like I will make like 3, like 1/3 here, and yeah, so it will be like 1/3 here, and here maybe like half, and here half, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you see, you can be also confused with curvature, which means you can make as many points as you need, and kind of like map them all. So for example this one, easy to map. Maybe this one, I can also do this one. It's just again like follow this principle, like if I will map to many points, it just will become like too much of draftsmanship. It's like I don't make an like engineering project, but if I need, I can do this, right? So let's say again, let's take maybe like this. And make here in the middle and here in the middle. So now I have curvature. Go here. Just being absolutely random. So I drew it upside down. Maybe let's say vanishing point. So let's say kind of here our third, right? So I will start here, finish here. So middle, this point, finish here, sorry, and this point. So kind of this approach. Так. So again, so doing this stuff, you can do this 100 and this 100, or do them together, whatever. It's kind of like you see this basic exercise with the dots on the surface. Put this surface in perspective. You can make this surface to be like made from squares, half square and half, or it can be like 2 squares or 2 square and half. whatever, you know, just if it's double curve, you need to map these other peaks too. So let's say you can here, for example, right? Then we go to mirroring. So when you have curve and you need to mirror it on a second surface. So let's say it's like totally random, like I don't know exact ratio for this plane, and totally random curve, but it's not single surface. It have kind of it's like have opposite side, right? So it's like some box, and now I can just eyeball it, right? But again, I can do this better because when I will draw this curve here, like in my head, I kind of making all these measurements, you know, it just like like happen automatically. But in the beginning, when you don't have this practice, yeah, like how you develop it. So there is a variance, like how we can find like one or a couple points on this curve to project them, so we can make this curve more precise. We can do, let's do like diagonal line from corner to corner, so we can find it, right? So we have this diagonal line, and I make diagonal line here, but still like, wait a second, where is this point exactly? How to find it? To find it on the other side, I need to project to bottom here by y-axis, right? So it's y-axis, and then I project it by z-axis to this side. So from bottom project here, and now again with the y-axis, and I will have intersection. So maybe let's make better angle. It's kind of here. Так. So we have this point. So I draw parallel to this side, like this, right? So now we have this point, like I was talking, we have this ratio. I can just like eyeball this ratio here, or I can transfer it by this z-axis, right? So now I transfer it, and again we make this parallel to these lines, and we still don't have this point here, right? So I can eyeball this ratio between this point and this point, and I say like, oh, it's somewhere here. Or I can drop a line parallel to x-axis, and I will find this point. Or I can make this like here, we have this diagonal line, and this diagonal line will intersect with this point, so both will work. So now we have 1, 2, 3. Так. So again. Так, let's do opposite direction. So let's say this point I can transfer it like this, right? So we have now, we know like ratio, like left and right, right? But I can transfer this point like this, making it by z-axis. So now I have this point. Like that. Let's see. And let's make like double curve. So here we have this peak, whoop. And here we have kind of this weird curvature. I can also make like point and drop it down, or I can use diagonal line here. Both will work. Maybe let's take other color here. So transfer to this side. Making this. So так. So we have these curves. Так, pencil keep broken. Так.
Subscribe, keyboard art. You now have 15 seconds to comply.
Так. use this, let's say. So let's make 2 points to project. So same like with perspective grids, it may be like too many lines and you can be like confused, like, oh, what the hell is happening here. But more you do it, more it's easy became to you, so you less to make mistake. So again, we make this like kind of cut this section, right? And now we project this to here like this. So now we have this 4 points. And you can do this easy in a perspective, like in any type of perspective. So this was like isometry, so we don't have vanishing points. But let's say so is some kind of 2-point perspective. So have the x and y-axis. So let's say so I take these 2 points here. Now I need to make sure it's following this perspective grid, right? So this second. Okay, and now I also kind of projecting this point. So we have like initial points here and we have transferred points. So let's do one more. So even this like kind of proportions here broken clearly, still this principle will work. So let's say this kind of magic of this system, like this. So I build, you see, this kind of section cuts, and now I project point from here to here, from here to here. So we have initial points and mirrored points. So you can already kind of notice how much new opportunity this gives to you. So this kind of ability working with forms, right? Because let's say, let's take some marker. So you can draw very cool shapes in perspective. So this kind of, that's why I call it like perspective intellect, perspective IQ. It's just your ability to manipulate space and manipulate 3D forms. Так. If you don't have this kind of practice, this kind of skills, your drawings, your forms, they always will be, you know, like kind of shy and kind of like stiff and cringe. And like when when you look some high-level artist and you see how incredible and complex forms they able to do, it's because they have understanding of underlying principles, underlying structures. Так. So, and we can do is like fisheye perspective. Let's say. Let's do some simple. So the vanishing point. And here will be y axis. So these are tilted horizon line and x axis. Так, so now let's say let's make big box. So we have this box here. So maybe make it darker. So we have 1, 2 points here, right? So now it's just we're following this perspective grid curvature, right? So you see y-axis will be curved this way. So I tell this a lot in tutorials about perspective grids. So you should be able to make this like transition between axes like this, or if you have curvature, right? So it's like you have curved perspective grid like this, so you make transition, so you always able to feel lines in between, because all I do is just kind of keep subdividing space between these curved lines. See, so when you just draw it curved lines, it's a very basic, very simple thing to do, right? So like it's just two curved lines, and you subdivide space between them. You can do it as many, depends like how much precision you need. It just became like more complex when you have it like combined with built-in form, because like suddenly it becomes like, oh my god, I'm making something like complex here. It's not just lines. Yeah, it's still set, it's still like compound of many simple kind of movements. I don't know, like many simple techniques combined together, right? So here you see same, like we have this y-axis, and instead of just drawing straight line, I need to follow this curvature, right? And when I draw a line following this curvature, it's like if I'm drawing perspective grid. So here I have this point, I drop down y-axis to here, and then now it's x-axis, right? So it's like I draw in this line between this curvature of x-axis. So now it's here. Now I go and drop it back here, and now what I have this curved line, and I have this straight line, which is same idea, right? Like you have curved line, straight line, subdivide this space, make transition. So now by just subdividing it, freehand, not perfect, but I have clear illusion of transition from curvature to straight line, right? So this is how perspective grid works. So we have curved line, straight line, and I here, okay, it's already blunt. It's like I'm making one more line for perspective grid. So this kind of what I'm drawing, right? So now we have this line here. So 1, 2, kind of this. So we have this section cut. And I can transfer this point to here. So if I draw this short line, when I draw this short line, I see it like as this. So I draw this short, but I see whole line going along all perspective grid. This what I say is like you have this after practice, right? But beginning, maybe you better do it with like I show here. You better do it as a perspective grid line. So this way you can better control kind of precision of this curvature, right? So it's like I need only this amount, but to make sure it's going right direction, I need to draw it like through a whole paper, through a whole space. Так, so now we have this point here, and same we do with this point, right? So we drop down here, make this kind of y-axis, making here this x-axis, so we have second section cut, and we transfer this point here. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Always simple steps, very simple principles, but combination of them make very complex work. So now you see we have this, it's like a ribbon or some mountain road. Can put some shading. Because you can see like, oh, how to draw a ribbon in a fisheye perspective. It's like, oh, yeah, it's just 2 curves, that's it. So we problem most of the time, it's like people might be like totally not aware of this basic, very basic, simple techniques, or they lack of systematic approach, which is like most of the time this case is like, yeah, you have this Scott Robertson book, you did couple drawings, and that's it. And then when you have actual case, when you really need to draw something, you lost, because you don't have experience of kind of using it as a system. It's a system, and you need to practice it to develop systematic approach. So you became a machine, you know, you program yourself like a machine to build, to create really like high quality work. Nothing like of a high quality happen randomly. High quality, it's only like a result of systematic work. That's it. So you, by doing this stuff, you train yourself to be systematic, to be organized, and with this systematic approach you also develop to be more complex. So instead of, how to say, in the beginning it's like 5 simple operations, Then just for fun, because more you do it, more complex you want it to be, right? Then just for fun, from 10 simple operations, you grow it to 200 operations. And now you make your picture. It have like 200 simple techniques which organize, intertwined with each other. It's a very, very complex system. Every your drawing, every your composition, every your artistic work, it's this like very complex system. You kind of like how's weaving, kind of, you're weaving it. And this how it always been, this like in a meme, always have been this way. Just somehow kind of being not aware of importance of systematic approach. Так, so let's do one more. Because like, all this stupid idea about artists being emotional and kind of intuition. It's like, yeah, it definitely is a lot of intuition, but this intuition is like intuition of a truck driver, or yeah. So let's say go on. So here, because it's freehand, right? So I have mistake here. So because I do it freehand, so I know I will have some kind of mistakes like this. So I will do adjustments. Yeah, let's say just like this. So we'll ignore my perspective grid. Let me show you. So here we'll little break perspective grid, and now I have adjusted version of perspective grid. So what does mean is this y-axis curvature go here. Now it's going this way to make my box be just to make these lines align here. So x kind of remain about same. So we have x here, y here. Так. Again, let's do opposite curvature, kind of this. So we have these peaks, can transfer them. So again, you see we have this perspective grid going through, like a line with the edge of a box, and then I already have this perspective grid line. And now to make this line more proper, I draw it as one more perspective grid line, just going through this point. So now it helps me to find these points here. And now we have this align with x axis, and this being somewhere in between, right? So we have this axis here, this axis here, and being transferred like this. And now y-axis. So we have this section cut, and again here y. We have this point, and I make one more axis for y. So we have this point x, like this, and here y like this, x like this, so kind of here. So we have two planes, and now on this plane I transfer this point to here. On this plane I transfer this point to here. So we have initial points, I mean this on the edges, and we have this 1, 2, and now I just draw a curve. And more curve, and curve here. See, so kind of like suddenly it starts to look like very complex thing, you know. So when I was showing you just 20 minutes ago same approach, but in a less kind of visually impressive setup, it looks like super easy. Exactly same steps, exactly same approach, but with a little more impressive setting. Make it looks like it's something difficult, but it's not. It's the same very simple technique. You just need to, if you better to do it couple times to adjust to it, to be accustomed to it, you know. So you not confuse with all these lines, because when they're stacking you start to lost with, because you're not experienced enough, right? But once you do it a couple more times, it's not difficult anymore. Так. And also what happened, is like this way of drawing became like more fluent for you, but also it's immediately improves every your other drawings. It's like your brain immediately starts to implement it to everything you draw. You just not notice it at first. You will notice it after like couple months. Так, so, and also because once you've been drawing this stuff couple times, now you see it's like you will able to do something like this, right? So it's kind of what I'm talking about. It's just kind of improving your overall drawing abilities. So you start to like drawing like I don't know, like a roads, for example. Like in my tutorial about drawing road, where I was talking that like curved road is basically is like a ribbon, because if we're talking about surface of a road, it's a bent surface, bent plan, right? And it's like long plan which bends and rotates. So basically it's a ribbon. So, and you will able to draw this ribbon through by freehand. You'll just find yourself after doing these exercises I was showing you with the curves. You will just find yourself that, oh, I actually able to do this freehand now. No, so it's kind of interesting. You can do this like as crazy. As crazy as possible. And you can also turn it into perspective grid, which I explain in a tutorial about roads, how it helps, you know, because let's say you can place stuff on this grid, right? So say it can be like vehicles or kind of buildings, so it's like kind of earthquake or something. No, so let's say this. So here we have like a vehicle moving upwards. So stuff like that. So it's very beneficial exercise. Okay, so it was mirroring. We're just talking about this mirroring. But it can be more complex mirroring. Let's say if we skip breaking.
Madness. This is Jane Bond art.
So this was mirroring of two surfaces standing parallel to each other, like in a symmetrical box. But what if is there tilting? So let's say we have this surface, and then we have two sides. They're kind of like with the angle to each other, two planes, right? So to draw it in perspective, you know, we need this like central line extended. So we will have this like vanishing trace for this tilt. So now also this makes our z-axis. So z-axis, and this is our x-axis. So every plane you draw, it's already established perspective grid. It's kind of show us perspective, and here you see y-axis. So just this plane, it's already show us y-axis. It's like this, parallel lines. So it's called kind of isometry perspective, right? Y, x, and z. So all three axes, they're parallel to each other. We don't have convergence, we don't have vanishing point. So now I can transfer this. So have this middle line here, then I have this here, and I transfer this point to here, and I transfer this point to here, so we have same distance. Like this, right? Also I can transfer this vanishing trace. So we have two tilted planes. Or I can draw it also, let's say, like this. And just eyeballing, so I say this ratio here, it's kind of this ratio here. Like this, right? Or I can like cut corners and just eyeball it, right? So this one is just more throughout, so you understand like entirely how it built in a space. And but then, like in example with ribbons, you will able to freehand it, and you see again, like from this I can extract perspective grid. So I say, okay, this y axis, so here perspective grid is like 3-point perspective, because y axis convergent, z axis parallel, x axis parallel, but this y axis is clearly tapering. They're not parallel, they're convergent towards y vanishing point, right? So just kind of quick recap. So we have these two same size surfaces, and they're standing like at same angle according to each other, and they will have same curve. So let's say like this, right? And again, so curve has this point, and I need to find, let's say, let's take this point here. So I need to transfer it. I need to transfer this point to this surface. So I have these sides, and I draw line parallel. Maybe in green, yeah. So I draw line parallel to sides of the surface. So then we get this point on the bottom, we have this point on the top. Then we have this edges, right? And I draw from this point, I draw a line parallel to these edges. Also I can draw on the top parallel to these edges. So now we have these points. I can already connect them, or I can double check. It should be kind of parallel with this one. Also, they will have vanishing trace on the same line with this one. You see? So now we have this section cut, and we can transfer this point, building this parallel line like this. So we have transferred this point to this size. So points here, this here. So same, let's show it here. Can do diagonal like this again. So you see from point to point here, and then following to make it parallel, like the line going through this point should be parallel to this z-axis, should be aligned with this z-axis, right? And then we get this intersection. So this line from corner to corner, line from corner to corner, and line parallel to z-axis, parallel to this sides, because these sides are parallel to the axis. You draw a line parallel to them which align with the axis, and we get intersection with diagonal. So we have 2 points here, 1 point here, and draw curve. Так. Yeah, same here. Let's do like corner to corner, connect like this, right? So same here, we have corner to corner, and now this point. So here Z also actually little convergent. It's not exactly parallel. So we have this z-axis here, have little convergence, but not important. It just follow this convergence. So you see this line, but we need it go through this point. We need the axis going through this point. So I make one more z-axis line and goes through this point, and it's intersect this diagonal line. So z-axis line, diagonal line, and we get this point. So now we have 3 points. And we get this curve. Again. So it's a surface. Так. Let's make this kind of double curve. So now we have 2 points to transfer. So this is here. I can also find vanishing trace right now, and also let's do this one. So it's also will be one more vanishing trace. And now as is here. So have these 2 section cuts, right, for these points. And this again is our z axis. Make it clear. So it's cut here, and this point go here. Then second one, it's point here. Going here like this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can make it kind of ribbon again. So let's do attack. let's just draw a random angle. Right, so we have like this, random and unusual and convenient angle. It's actually like, it's kind of crazy. I here almost don't have surface. Oh no, let's see. So have transfer here. Yeah, it's kind of like almost invisible. Point here, point here. Okay. And now we connect. Well, let's do upside down also for exercise. Так, let's make it short. So here I kind of eyeballing it. So kind of this. Okay, so have to surface. Again, so the green. So we have this like a kind of slice in it, right? The next section cut, cross section also calls. And now we transfer this point and this point. So now they're on other side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, you see, do this stuff about 100 times. Treat it as a warm-up exercise, because at certain point it will be very easy and you will feel like you draw in the same stuff again and again. Try to find, like I'm doing here, try to find its like unusual angle, something you didn't draw before. This way you will like explore more and more, you know, like broaden your skills. And also yeah, you will develop this kind of muscle memory, so you will better able to draw curvatures, and you will like improve your general ability of drawing 3D forms, because such curvatures, they're everywhere. Now you will draw like drapery, road surface, whatever complex form which have this kind of it's also it's very dynamic, you see. It's very cool form. Cool. Very important, very essential. It's exactly this kind of hack and secret you are looking for when you're like browsing all these tutorials on YouTube. You're like, oh, where's this super tutorial telling me some secrets? Yeah, this exactly this secret, because this really will improve you like crazy. And if you're like serious enough, this is something which you will eventually you will draw it anyway. If you're like in the art, you know. Так. So let's draw it in the fisheye. Так. So you can like extend this learning curve for like years, like make it like 10-year, when to like spend 10 years to finally realize you need this stuff, or you can do it in 10 weeks. Так. So in 10 weeks learn this, and you will see how it helps you, you know. Так, so let's do tilted horizon line. So it's horizon line, z vanishing point. So it's y-axis, y-axis. So kind of like this. So you see, it's like very freehand. I don't have like any mathematical precision here. It's super freehand, and this kind of what I teach. I teach how to use this perspective essentials to be able to draw freehand. Rotated, tilted plants. Okay, yeah, can do it. Так, so rotated, tilted. So let's say, let's do it here. So here we have this front side. It sounds funny, rotated, tilted planes, but I think I understand what you mean, and I will maybe even show it today. Так. So you see we have this middle line. So this middle line here parallel align with y-axis. Now let's do this middle line. Так, maybe here. So kind of like this. So it will be here. Parallel align with the y-axis here, right? So you see what happened interesting here is this tilted planes. They actually kind of work as a perspective grid too. Like in this case when we have perspective grid without vanishing point. So this vanishing trace, it's outside of paper. So, and I can kind of put other piece of paper and find it here. But what if I can't, right? So what to do? Then I will treat it as a perspective grid. So what happened? We have middle line here. We have this tilted line and this tilted line. So you see, it creates this kind of its own direction, and I can continue this. Yeah, only difference, it's not same vanishing point. This vanishing trace, it will be moved. Так. Yeah, it's tricky. No, it should be parallel, kind of parallel with convergent. Anyway, so I will find vanishing trace for farther side. Let it be here. So this line goes this way. This line goes this way. And so this parallel, this parallel, it should intersect. Yeah, this should intersect here. Okay, yeah, nice. So have this point here, this point here, this point here, this point here. And kind of this is our vanishing trace. Yeah, seems right. So now I can make it darker. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I will talking about this after, right? So you mean like this? Yeah. This is my next curve. So now I finish with this one, and I will go to tilted rotated planes. So here we have these two planes in a fisheye. So I take one wall and just like draw random curve. Okay, and now I need to transfer this curve to right side. So take point. So it's like, so we have this side, and line go kind of parallel between these sides. So you see, it's not aligned with this perspective grid anymore. It exists inside this general perspective grid, but now I have my own structure. So to explain. So you see what kind of so we have this kind of structure. So this vanishing trace here, vanishing trace like 1, vanishing trace 2, and this is kind of like special access for this vanishing trace lines. All right, so our site, our plan is here. So they're kind of going like this. And this side going like this. So it's like they're parallel, and if we make it symmetrical cut, each cut will have a vanishing trace. You see? So here, like I have this side, and I make a line which goes through this peak point, and it's kind of going towards this line for vanishing traces. This here, it's x axis, like in a initial perspective grid. So it's a line here. And now again we have this side, and we go and it should connect with this here. Okay, and here again it's x. So we have this section cut. So doing the same with this side, x, this parallel, x. So we have two cuts. We have, now we can transfer point. So kind of here, right? And this lower point about here. So we have two transferred points and beginning and end of a curve. So now we're doing this curve. If I'm not sure about this curvature, I can make maybe diagonal line here, for example, and so we'll have one more point, and again it's like following x axis, transfer to here. So diagonal x, and we have point. So now we have like 3 points. So help me to make this curve. Okay, so that's our curve in a fisheye. Yeah, I think this live will be open for public. So push like, share and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials here. If you want me to survive, you know. Так, so and we have some space here. Let's make one more. Let's make upside down again, just why not. Так. Whoop. Let's make it upside down. So we have kind of this. So, and this, yeah, let's do this one without vanishing trace. It just will be less precise. But again, you see, vanishing trace, they're just to show you how it works and what is kind of underlying structure. But here we can draw it even, or okay, let's do with vanishing trace because it's exercise. So here will be vanishing trace, right? So now we put this vanishing trace in perspective. So we have this like axis, axle or axis for vanishing traces. Так, so let's drop random curve. And I can drop curve on any side. So I can start from this side and project it to this side. But it's just more convenient to draw it on a more open side, right? Because it's like, it's kind of appears more flat, more open to use, so it's easier to start with, kind of more clear. Так, so let's say like this. Let's see what happened here. I make it more difficult accidentally. Whoops. Okay, anyway, we have this point, we have this point, Yeah, let's keep it simple at first. Like, let's grow complexity gradually. So let's make it this kind of curve. So we have 2 points. And you see, so we have this side. We draw parallel line. Now let's have vanish and trace here. Now we go in X. Vanish and trace, and this X. So they should intersect. Yeah. So we have this section cut. And now transfer this point to here. 1, 2. And we need one more. X. Так. Transfer it here. So it's against X, X. And this like following X-axis. Так, so we have point here, and this point also we can just transfer it like this. Whoop. So have this curve. This curve. Like this. Let's put some shading. So you will not find this in a Scott Robertson book. Absolutely unique tutorial. So hope you appreciate. Can share it on your social media or became member of a channel. Так, to make like monthly donations. Okay, so then I will talk about tilted and rotated plants and the curve on them. Now it's 5-second break. Так.
Who are you?
Bond. Jim Bond.
So then we have like two tilted surfaces. It's like always breaking. Так. And rotated. So let's say if this was kind of symmetrical, right? So we have bottom and top, they were kind of same ratio, but now we will make different. So front surface this short, rear will be wider. Same with the top. So here this white, and here it will be even more wider. So I just again I kind of just eyeballing it, so it's not absolutely perfect. This like again like even in Scott Robertson, if you will study closer, you know, you will notice there's like always some minor errors. So like it's almost impossible to make this kind of perfect measurements, like especially if you focus on artistic work in the end. So you will need to prioritize like absolute precision or some kind of visual appeal or realism of a object, how object looks like. So anyway, so let's draw, say here. So all I just make sure I kind of maintain this like perspective grids, right? So X, Z and Y. Так. Like that. So if here is this white, here I make even wider. And here let's make, okay, in the bottom it's getting wider, right, like this. But on top it's getting narrower. So it's even can be like this. Like I say again, it's just flex your brains a little with this stuff, you know, just to see what else you can do to practice same principles, because this stuff is still just this, is still just making points on a surface and draw curved lines through these points. That's it. It's same stuff again and again. You just keep looking for what kind of case it can be applied to. There's like little turn it this way, little turn it that way, put it in 2-point perspective, put it in a 3-point perspective. But it's same dots, you know. That's why it's so interesting. It's so fun. Right, so let's make double curve. So what you already notice, what we're doing, we making cross sections, we're making cuts, right? So this, it's a certain form. Every form, every object, they have this like box logic of 3 planes, 3 axes. So it's like we have y-axis, we have z-axis, and we have x-axis, right? So for each of them they have surface. So we have like y surface, we have z surface, and we have x surface, right? And when we have this kind of like, you know, like it's like we can make it like a form made, for example, from 2x surface, right? So here 2x surface, we connect them with 2 y surfaces. So now we have like hollow box, right? Like this is hollow box. And I can close it with adding z surfaces to it. So this is 3D form, and this 3 directions, 3 sections. So here we have this like front section, it's a z section, right? It's like this z surface. Then we have this one, it's work like x surface. And then we have this on the top, it's work like y surface. And we can slice it. So by slicing it, I kind of like create a new z surface. If I slice that way, I will create a new y surface, and etc. You know, so you just need to practice to see it this way, see it through, like making this kind of slices. So here, like I was showing with this one, every time I transfer point, I transfer it by creating this slice, right? Like cutting form through, like this. Так, where's my green? Okay. So we have 2 points, and I kind of like creating this cross section, cutting through, right? So I was explaining about how this cut works. So we have this like parallel, then here we have this parallel, then here we have this parallel. This is how you create this cut. Same with this one. So every time you draw parallel line. So let's maybe show with other color. Here. So we have point. So this point, right? We have parallel lines. I make a parallel line to this. Now we have this point. We have these parallel lines. and I draw parallel line like this. Now I have this point, we have these parallel lines. Now I draw parallel line like this. And we have this point, we have these parallel lines. We have parallel lines like this. So we create is like some kind of knife, or I don't know, imagine laser blade from Star Wars, kind of cutting it through. Right, and we have this same with this one. So we have parallel lines. Whoop. We have parallel lines here, parallel lines there. And then now we have parallel lines within this section, right? We have this, and now I transfer this point to here. So same here, parallel from this point. Now we have it here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have this curve. If you want, you can make one more cut. It's like one more point here. Slice it, baby, one more time. Right. So now I have like so many points, and I can keep slicing it as many I want. You know, can keep like creating these cuts. Так, hello jelly. Так, so I can, how many cut I make here? 1, 2, 3. Так, so and I have this many points. So you see now how many points I have. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like playing this game, connecting dots to draw picture. And now I just make curves here. Так. And here. Let's use ink. we have this one. So again, so here start front, bottom is short, top is wide, rear bottom is wide, top is short. Right, so it's like left surface. I first time draw on this one, so let's see. It's kind of funny. Okay, so we have on the left surface, we have this curve, and we want these points. So let's using this principle of perspective grid. So when we have transition from one angle to other, right? So I subdivide to create this kind of transition. So same here, we have this line, we have this line. So now I can subdivide so I have this kind of parallel direction. Так. So then we have this, go here, then we have this here, subdivide like this. So this point transferring it's here. Так. And this point is here. So you see, by making cuts, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So this kind of perspective grid approach, you see, is super helpful. So you see, again, we have these lines here. You can keep subdividing it, so you kind of like find the lines which allow you to cut through. Так. And put some hatching. And let's draw it in different perspectives. So we have, this was like isometry. Now let's do 2-point perspective. Так. So here will be Z, X, так, my Y little tilted, no big deal. Так, so let's say like this. So it's kind of our middle plane as a front. So front bottom, so I make this rear bottom wider. Not. Now I connect them. Again, if I want, I can kind of, if I need it for something, I can find where they will like point of intersection, but it's not necessary, I think. So for front top, yeah, let's do like this. So it's a little wider, and then here it will be even wider than bottom here. So now we have these points. I connect them. So is how we have this figure in a two-point perspective, this object with two tilted and rotated surfaces. Так. Let's draw a curve. Yeah, also, I don't know, it just looks for a reminder. Yeah, this also will have its kind of vanishing trace, which might be useful in some cases, but right now they're outside of picture plane. Так. Okay. So let's drop some curve. Let's say like this. So now we have points. Let's take this peaks, curve peaks. Again, so we have this. Goes this way. Going to the vanishing point here, to the vanishing point there. Now we have these points. So these are section cuts. And now these points we project. Whoop. now it's here, right? So this point, from the vanishing point we drop in beam, kind of same here, from the vanishing point, go like this. So here it intersects. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here can bend a little more. So here is 2 arc curves. Can add some hatching. So also hatching will be always parallel to one of axis. Should be like a line with the axis. Here I can draw it like following the z axis, for example, or it can be following curvature. So this will be like x kind of axis of kind of this ribbon itself. Right. So basically it's like if you're drawing perspective grid of a surface, of this ribbon surface, because you have this curve, now you draw in between, so it's like perspective grid. Same here, we have this curve, you draw in between, you have like perspective grid. Maybe here should be lower. Hello, Krasnan. So let's do one more. Like strike and fit here or not. So my perspective grid here kind of little wacky. So front short, front bottom short, front top make little wider, right? So we have this like tilt. So I see in Scott Robertson we have this like very kind of default angle, and I want to exercise is more like different perspective angles, different perspective grids, like fisheye. Так, so because you need to practice, you know, practice drawing in an artistic scenario with considering inevitable imperfection. So it's like this geometry, you can't avoid to make mistakes. You will always make mistakes, and I'm doing mistakes kind of physically. I will spend way too much energy and time to make it close to 100% correct. This is not what I need. Instead, I spend like my 20% of effort to, achieve like 80% of result. So, and also practice, kind of like my observation shows that if you will chase such kind of perfection, it will not work out for you. It's like beginners, they will kind of, if they want to be artists and they want to make like perfect work, eventually they will give up. It's just like only can lead to demotivation. They say like, oh, I'm just not a real artist, let's say, right? Or if you're able to manage it, it's like use this kind of monster who can be like absolutely technical, which I actually don't see. It's like usually artists who make like super perfect geometry, they leave it on a geometry level. They're not drawing it like people, cars and stuff in some extreme camera angles. No, they just drawing it as some kind of paintings with geometry, So anyway, it's just like unachievable task. And I want to help you to adjust your direction. So what direction is here is clear understanding and practice as artist. And through this practice, you learn, you kind of get this understanding of how you deal with errors, how you deal with imperfection. So is you make mistakes properly, like make mistakes correctly, so nobody will notice mistakes and they will not make your work look lower quality. So you, while making mistakes, you make high quality work. And it's kind of paradox, because if you will try to make it without mistakes, eventually you will end up with low quality work. I don't know, it's kind of paradox. So your quality should be not from like this kind of mechanical perfectionism, but from advanced, highly developed, systematic approach. So like when you have this like very, very complex and kind of like trained, systematic approach. So you are, this kind of machine, like engine, which don't have like 100%. I mean, this like combustion engines, they have like very low efficiency, but they works. All these cars, motorcycles, they riding all around us. Same here is kind of you able to draw like super high quality, like realistic stuff, while making all that mistakes, while making all these tiny errors, you know, because you learn how to so here you learn how to implement them properly. So here we see I want to project this to peaks, so I make these lines parallel to this side. Now I have these points on the edge, and I drop them to the vanishing point, right? So it's going to the vanishing point. Now I have them here. Now I have these two lines, and I kind of making it like perspective grid here. So dropping bunch of lines, like if I have this, right? I subdivide. So I have this like perspective grid for this surface, personally, kind of personal perspective grid. And these lines help me to make direction from these points, right? So I have these 2 points, and seeing this like personal perspective grid, now I know what direction from these points, I know what direction these lines will go. They should be aligned kind of with this personal perspective grid. Так, same here, it's Z. Так, let's make it more clear. So let's go Z. Okay, you see? So we have this like a slice cut. Same in this one. Go here. Go here. Kind of go here like this. So we have 2 cuts. And now here transfer this point, transfer to here. And this point transfer to here. And this point here draw into a Z, right? So it's going to Z, intersect with this one. So we have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And again, just for example, So we have this curve, subdivide, 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 subdivide. So this kind of how simple it is. It's crazy, right? So here you have this S curve, or let's say visible side. So this kind of S, this kind of S. Draw it in the middle. Now you have this S, again subdivide, this S, subdivide. Now you have this here, that here, subdivide. So it's kind of revolutionary perspective grid approach, which I teach in other tutorials. It's like insanely how simple it is and how helpful it is. You see, so you can do like very sophisticated patterns. You can make this like proper hatching, proper direction for your surface hatching. Kind of, you can make this like money hatching, you know, like on a dollar portraits. Так. Let's do one more in the fisheye. So, and this will be probably last one for today. Write me comments, questions, requests. Так. It's horizontal. So. Так. Let's make it like tilted horizon line. So this horizon line, this the Z vanishing point, Z axis, so it's like Y vanishing point, Y axis, and yeah, here will be X axis. So these are crazy fisheye perspective grid. And now let's draw this stuff here. Так. So. Так. Let's draw it like this. This front and bottom. Top kind of wider, yeah, and we can make this vanishing trace, right? So just in case. So will be part 2. I will go in like to more complex curves in perspective. Part 3, it will be already like kind of like 3D objects, like you know, almost like vehicles. So it's all this principles from Scott Robertson how to draw. So only I explain them more adapted for freehand artists. So you're not kind of designer, engineer, you're like artist who draw in illustrations, comic books, and you just want to have more advanced perspective skills. Так. So go like that. So here these are center, surface, and this far top, this far bottom. So let's be kind of this. It also will have like vanish and trace, but they're different. This because these surfaces have different these edges, they have lines on a different angle, so they have different vanish and trace points. Так. And this, you see, I connect in these points. It's important is they don't go into, they don't have vanishing points on a horizon line. They depend from a form of this object. And if you want, yeah, you can make like vanish and trace for them, but here it's outside of picture, so vanish and trace will be somewhere there. So on this channel I have a lot of tutorials kind of to answer very specific, sometimes very unnecessary, but for people who curious. Так, so let's make a curve again, because this more open, more facing me, this surface. I will start from it. So let's kind of like this, just a random curve. Okay. So have this point, so like I was talking, we have this side, and then you can make like kind of like perspective grid for this surface itself. And this perspective grid on this surface just will tell you what direction will go it. These lines which is going through points on a curve line, right? Then when it touches this edge, it should follow x-axis. It follow x-axis. Now it has this side. Now it should follow this grid. So we have this side, I subdivide, so we have like perspective grid for this side. And we have these points here, again they follow in x, So, and you see from this point following this perspective grid kind of, and it's meet with this line. So it means everything was established or correct. So we have this section cuts. 1, 2. Okay. And now, kind of on the surface of this section cut, we transfer following x axis. We transfer this point. It's here. Same on the surface of this cut. We transfer this point, and its line will go along with this x-axis. Right, like this. So that's it. So we have point here, point here, point here, and point here. Now we just draw this. And this. And this. Okay. And you can even make hatching, kind of, like I say, curve here, subdivide. Now we have curve here, subdivide, curve here, subdivide, and you keep subdividing. So this is how you have this following curvature hatching. Here we have this like dollar curvature. 1, 2 in the middle, 1, 2 in the middle, 1, 2 in the middle, and etc. And here we have curve like this in the middle, curve like this in the middle. See. Так. Let's see if I can put one more here. Так. I think I can. So I don't know if you, no, actually if you will follow all my recommendations, and if you, yeah, this fisheye kind of stuff, of course it's advanced, but if you did my previous tutorials, like especially perspective for beginners part 1 and part 2, and you do exercises in this tutorial what I show you right now, you will able to draw this stuff, curves in a fisheye. Yeah, so, and also kind of again like treat it as a test. If you think you can draw in a fisheye, like can you draw this stuff, like can you draw this kind of curves on tilted, rotated surfaces? Test yourself, because if you don't, then it's kind of a good, you reveal, how to say, you reveal for yourself point for improvement, right? So you can improve this thing which is being in a category of a warm-up or daily exercise. Just, yeah, kind of like it's a daily warm-up. If you daily doing this kind of warm-ups, drawing curves in perspective, it will kind of help you a lot, kind of improve your overall drawing quality. Так, so now we have this tilted and rotated surface, and we have this tilted surface. Так. Let's do like this. So, totally random curve. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so we have these two lines. Also points. Yeah. So these two lines. For itself, I make a grid. So it's like a grid for this surface, for this plane. Same here, I have these two lines, and I make a grid for itself. So, you know, it's like you have surface, you subdivide it like this, and here you have another surface, and you also subdivide it. So it's kind of like its own perspective grid. Так. So now this point we're moving here along x and line along x-axis, is going here, then is going here. So we get this section cut, right? Then this one going here, going here, going here to X, and along this own perspective grid. So have this second section cut. Okay, so we are transferring this point using x-axis from this side of section cut to this side of section cut, and here this point from this side of section cut to this side. So now we have on the other side we have this 1 2 1 2, and this point here using following x-axis. Yeah, following x-axis. Now it's here. Same as this point here on the front edge. Okay, from this point we follow an x-axis, kind of here, right? It's intersect other edge, so we have this point here. So now we have 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so now we draw this curve like here on the front. I'm drawing here this curve. We're drawing here, and this curve we're drawing here. That's it. Very simple steps. Many simple steps make a very complex result, you know. And same again, like hatching looks so crazy, so funny. S curve in the middle. And kind of maybe it's not super perfect, but it's close. S curve in the middle, and again subdivide. Here this curve in the middle. This curve in the middle. So each following subdivision easier than previous, right? So same here, curve in the middle. Now we have this hope, this hope, and etc. Так. Now can make work. It's already finished. Okay. Yeah, kind of this. So thank you for watching. See you next tutorial. Так. Maybe tomorrow. Also tomorrow will be stream with a guest. She's not artist, but just my friend. We'll talk about, I will show some my martial arts drawing. We'll talk with her about martial arts. It's Dallas Malloy. Так. Yeah. See you tomorrow.